Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another webinar hosted by Corporate Women in Leadership. Today, we're going to be talking about how to set SMART goals for the year. We know it is the beginning of the year, and most people are looking at the kind of changes that they can make in their lives. We're looking at the kind of things that we can change. But in order for us to change anything in our lives, what we need to do is we need to ensure that the objectives or the goals that we have set for ourselves is SMART, so it has to be specific, it has to be measurable, it has to be achievable, it has to be reasonable, and of course it has to fit within a time frame. So what are the objectives that you've set for yourself this year? What are some of the goals that you've set for yourself this year? How smart are your goals? Corporate Women in Leadership, what we do is we celebrate corporate women. We celebrate women working in a corporate environment, women running a structured organization, women running their own organizations. What we try to do is we try to bring thought leaders, we try to bring visionary speakers, visionary leaders to help inspire you to the places that you want to go to. Our agenda for 2024 is already packed. It is so booked that I'm asking, are our objectives SMART? Are we living on example? Are we able to achieve all the things that we've put that we're going to be achieving this year? On what grounds did we base our goals? Why did we decide to set the goals that we have set for this year? So as we go and explore this topic, how to set SMART goals for the year, I want you to reflect on the things that you've already told yourself that you want to do and see if these things are things that are achievable. If they are, who are the people that can help you? So this year, what we've been able to do is we've been able to host our Speed Mentorship program. So we've launched our Mentor-Mentee program, which is a program that we have every year. So every year for 6 months, we bring in 10 to 12 women and we give them a one-on-one mentorship program. These mentorship programs are tailored and they last across 6 months. Now what we tend to do is we tend to pair women, younger women or women who want to change their career, looking at growing towards a certain direction, and we try to pair them with mentors that can help them to achieve what they actually want to achieve. Then we decided to launch what we call the Speed Mentorship program. Our Speed Mentorship program is a program that brings together not just the 12 women that we are mentoring, but 100, 200. So we pack them all in a hall and we bring mentors from all over the countries to inspire them to discuss pertinent topics that might be affecting them. Who can attend our conference? Anybody who is looking at advancing in their career, anybody who is looking at changing some of the things that they do, anybody who is looking at switching or changing career, we've got it covered for you. A few years ago, about 3 years ago, we launched what we call our online forum. This is a webinar that we used to do once a month. And what we discuss typically on these webinars, we discuss the different steps that you need to take to climb your career levels. We also talk about issues that might be affecting you at work that you do not even know they are issues. So the speakers that we bring are from all walks of life. This is only because we are not looking at people from specific field or specific sector. We're looking at every woman who has achieved a certain level of authority, who have attained a certain level that can speak, inspire, empower the younger generation or those looking at changing their career. So if you are joining us today, note that you are on the right platform, and please do click on the notification for any time that we have a webinar. Make sure you do not miss. And if you are not here with us today, I think you're missing an amazing interactive session, not only because you're going to miss the speakers live, but because this is an opportunity for the speakers that we have to answer your questions in real time. But if you're watching this video right after this webinar, please do make sure you send us an email if you have any questions directed to any of our speakers. We are going to ensure that they get to them and that we get to you. So that said, I need to introduce myself. Now let me introduce myself. So those of you who are watching this webinar for the first time, my name is Adeline Sedekamga, and I am the founder of Corporate Women in Leadership and also the Faberfrig Media Group. So the Corporate Women in Leadership is an initiative that we launched in 2016, And I've just said why we launched it, to help women in their careers take the next big step, take the next level. So all what we do here is just to support you. And if you think that you need any specific, particular support that we can tailor towards you, please do send us an email, follow us on all our socials so that you stay up to date. Now I'm going to be inviting on the stage my speakers. I've got 3 amazing speakers for today. We'll start with Dr. Lizzie Bronte, who is going to be joining us from the USA. Now, Dr. Lizzie is, I just want to make sure, she's the F&E director, Just Like You Global Foundation, and she has years of experience in the leadership sector. It is true that we have interacted on different leadership platforms before, but I'm so excited because this is the first time I'm actually hosting her on my prestigious platform. Every woman who graces this platform is really after my own heart, because what they do is they do it for free, they do it in their own time. So they put in their knowledge, they put in their expertise, they put in their all just to ensure that you have the best. So Dr. Lizzie, thank you so much for saying yes to this call. And then later we're going to be having Brenda Wette, who is a principal architect for BCDUB. Good thing is I have worked with Brenda before. As an architect, you will know how she thinks. Like, she's very organized, she's very structured, and I'm truly crossing my fingers that the network do permit her to join us today. And finally, we have Yvette Mendu, Head of Business Integrity, Guinness Cameroon. Now, it is true that Yvette has spoken or has mentored some of our mentees on the Speed Mentorship program, but I'll tell you, the feedback I got was amazing, and I'm so happy she decided to take up the yes and is with us today. So it's good that we have all our 3 speakers back, and I'm going to put them on the stage so that they can introduce themselves and you can get to know them a little bit more better. So I'll start with Dr. Lizzie. Hello.
Hi, Adeline.
How are you doing today?
I am doing very well, and thank you for the invite. It's an
So
honor to be here.
where are you checking in from?
From Columbus, Ohio.
Thank you so much for gracing us. Please let us know who really, when we peel that onion, who do we see?
Okay, so when you peel that onion, you see me, Dr. Lizzie Bronte. I am an IT leader, information technology. That's my main job. I'm also the founder of the Just Like You Global Foundation. And I like to say, I love to teach. As a lifelong learner, I have come to realize that teaching is what will keep you learning. So I am an adjunct professor. I teach leadership. I am also a diversity, equity, and inclusion enthusiast. So that's me. And I'm happy to be here, ready to dig in.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lizzie. Thank you so much for gracing our stage. I'm going to pop up the next person, Yvette Michelle Mendu, on stage. And hello, Yvette. Welcome on stage. You can just unmute yourself. There's a little button at the top right-hand side of your screen. If you click that, you're going to unmute yourself.
Yep. Got it. Now you can hear me well, okay? All right. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
We can hear you. I've just muted myself so that I don't echo when you're introducing yourself. So I'd like you to tell us where you're calling from, who you are, and the sheriff after the, when I peel your onion, what do I see?
Okay. I'm connecting from Douala. Just got up from work, actually. So when you peel that onion, what do you see? You see a woman who is passionate about ethics. I currently work at the head of business integrity, which is also looking into ethics, compliance, procedure, but most importantly, ethics. Ethics is like my bread and butter, if I can call it like that. You will see somebody who, just like Lizzie, is passionate when it comes to diversity and inclusion, because I do think that as women, we have a lot to offer, and in most cases, we are not always given the opportunities to you know, to portray ourselves in a good light. So I'm excited to be here, to be part of this conversation, and I hope that I will be able to bring some value. So yeah, this is me.
Value is already there. I can tell diversity, inclusion, integrity. Those are the two I'm taking home with. So thank you so much for joining. And finally, on the line today is Brenda Wete, the always amazing Brenda. Hello, Brenda.
Hi, Madeline. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. Oh
Now,
my
now that
God.
you're here,
Okay.
now that you're here, I would like you to tell us about who is Brenda and what is under the next layer of your onion.
Oh, okay. Well, Brenda's a little girl who's trying to discover the entire world and trying to make an impact um, in the lives in the world, in leave a positive something everywhere that she goes. Um, I am an architect. That means I do my best to be able to create us living spaces, or not only for living, but for anyone who wants to use the space, and for objects as well. I'm a very creative person in general, creative with architecture, with clothing and stuff, and I am interesting to listen to what Yvette just said. I am all about integrity, all about morals and respect of others, of space, of whether it be other individuals or animals or plants, wherever we are. It's just about respecting our environment, our nature, and each other. So now the next layer of my onion, whoa, is about it's about discovering more of what there is to do, discovering more of what I can offer, and especially discovering more of what other people are about. I'm very curious about who we are and our potentials. So I think that pretty much sums it up. Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, that's me. That's me just adjusting on,
Okay.
unmute myself. So thank you so much, Brenda. So what I can take back from what you all have said, I can see integrity, I can see respect, I can see inclusion, diversity, I can see powerful women leading in their different sectors. Before you got there, you must have put yourself a target. You must have set a goal. So today we are speaking to all the women out there who are still struggling in setting their goals. So let me start with you, Dr. Lizzie. What would you say is, setting specific goals? How would you define that, and how important is this, or how essential is this for leadership?
So thank you, Adeline, again. When you started the conversation, you defined what SMART meant, right? You mentioned, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound in order to set your objectives. But it is very essential. I do not want to say just for corporate women, for everybody, but we're talking about corporate women today. Why is it essential? It is essential because to me, it provides a clear framework, right? A framework that guides you, that puts everything in perspective. It also lays a foundation of accountability, right? It also helps you overcome some of the challenges that may place themselves because life happens. But when you have SMART goals, it's easy to understand what's next, when is it next, what's blocking, how do I overcome it? Do I move this to the side or do I just continue? So I highly recommend anybody who's listening to just realize that when you set smart goals for yourself, you boost your confidence, because guess what? You end up achieving so many things within specific time frames. And when you boost your confidence, you achieve more. And who doesn't like to win? So I would say, to sum it up, smart goals are essential because they provide a framework for clarity, they help you achieve many goals, and they actually improve professional growth. And that's it. I'm not sure if you could get me, but
No, we heard you, and I think that was truly. I mean, you've just hit that really straight to the point. But you've mentioned that it is not only relevant for women, but it's relevant for anybody who would like to, take their career or whatever they want to do to the next level, which I find really warm, because sometimes when people talk about soft skills, people always try to initiate or insinuate that soft skills are only needed by women, not by everybody else. So Brenda, if you have to give us a different dynamics or dimension of these, what would you say?
A different dimension of what, of soft skills?
Of smart goals.
Okay. I would say, as I would talk about the fact that you need to be able to look into yourself and basically be able to define very clearly, first of all, what it is that you really want to attain. That is, and sort of get to build your own relationship with what it is that you're trying to attain, so that it becomes like a second skin. Once you get that, it becomes a more natural thing for you to do, to be able to define all the other precepts that you need to be able to reach those goals. So you really need to be able to sort of tie yourself to this this thing that you're trying to attain. And to do that, I think I'm going to connect to your point on soft skills again. It is, or get back to it, in being able to define what it is that you're really searching for to attain, and getting that relationship with it. You're touching those soft skills. It's like, what in you is looking for it? Why do you want to attain it? And once you can touch that, then you sort of make it a personal, I would say a personal thing, like a natural thing, so that it doesn't become so much of an extra effort. It becomes like a natural thing you do. You wake up, you look, you eat, you walk, and you attain your goal.
Thank you so much, Brenda. This makes me to wonder, and I'll direct this to you, Yvette. We're talking about smart goals. We're talking about setting our goals, and we're talking about why it is important. I mean, if you have to look back, back into your life when you were maybe growing up at a certain age in your career, or even now, is there any examples that you might want to link what we've said about smart goals, setting smart goals? Is there anything professionally that you've done which you can say has been transformative? So my question is, can you share a personal or professional example where setting smart goals has been transformative?
Yeah, actually, I would take it the other way on saying that I'm going to talk about not setting smart goals, and the downfall it brought. The fact that you don't, you get. Let me take an example. I was moving from Canada to Luxembourg, and I did not really have a plan per se. I just knew that, okay, I was going to work as an internal auditor, but then I did not take time, to set myself up with some goals to say, okay, in 1 year, I will need to be a supervisor at my job. In 3 months, I need to start taking classes, maybe to learn the language. I did not actually set myself up, for success. So I think that having smart goals is actually a step up. When you have goals, you are setting yourself for success. You are giving yourself the tools to achieve what you want, because after that experience, which ended up being a total failure, not because I did not set the goals, but because of other exterior circumstances, my takeaway from that was to say the next job I have, the next professional opportunity I have, I really need to have my goals, which are totally different from, the objective that will be given to you as a manager to say, okay, this is the target, this is it. But to set my own personal goals in terms of what does it take for me to achieve those objectives? What does it take for me to be a more balanced person? What does it take for me to be a better colleague? And to have realistic goals, because sometimes I used to have those generic idea. This year I want to really be efficient. I want to manage my time efficiently, but I did not go into detail to say what does it take for me to manage my time efficiently. Okay, what I would do is when I get to the office, I will do my to-do list for the day. I will try to leave the office at 5 p.m. I will take, that sort of view, take it to that sort of view, because I used to think that when you get to a job, the most important goals for you are those that are given by your N+1 or by your leader. Meanwhile, I realized that you need, it's not a can, it's a need. You need to have your own SMART goals that you set up for yourself. And they don't need to be something that is done for 1 year. You can even have SMART goals for the week. This week, I want to be able to deliver on this project on this specific timeline. This is what is going to take me to do that. This is what I can bring in terms of what was transformative. It took me a failure to know the importance of having SMART goals. Adley.
Wow, that was so right off my street. So, what I was able to retain from what you've said is that because you didn't set yourself a target, you didn't put some goals in place, you had to pay for it, So, but that actually also taught you or helped you to, to realize that it is important for you to move on. But for you to move on, you have to make sure you know exactly what you want, why you want it, and how you want it. So that was able to help you define your goals and to make sure that the next time you're planning something similar, not just from a personal perspective, but from a professional perspective, you're all set. So, Dr. Lizzie, tell me, have you had any of such experience where either you've set your SMART goals or you've not? And if so, can you share that with us?
I can relate so much with that. There's something as simple as planning your day, right? Before I actually understood the relevance of setting goals, I'd like to make this comment. It doesn't make you rigid. Because some people, when they hear SMART goals, they think you have to be this robot. You have to say, on Monday I'll do this, on Tuesday I will do this. You learn to incorporate some flexibility into your plan, because that is what actually helps you achieve them, right? In my case, before I learned about SMART goals, I was all over the place. I did not set any goals for myself. I had this big old ambition where I wanted to become everything, but just did not become anything, right? But when I learned how to set my goals the right way, I learned how to put things in perspective. Well, Brenda said something about really looking back and understanding what is it that you want to achieve. I decided that, hey, listen, I want to go back to school. But what does that mean? Because prior to that, I wanted to go back to school, but I just did not go back to school because there was no plan. Well, what does that mean? To Yvette's point, you break it down to, it means looking for the right school, thinking about what is it that you want to study. What is the outcome of that education that you're seeking? What are the schools that offer the degree that you're looking for? What is the application process or the admissions process? For me, it took a while, but because I had my goals set up, I had every list that I had to check off, look up the schools, send my applications, prepare for the interview, write recommendations. You check those things off. It takes time. And that is how I was able to gradually, slowly but steadily go through my doctorate program while pregnant and working full time. So my point is, without your goals set, without connecting to the relevance of the goals you're setting, you may just be setting yourself up for failure. Trying to be too rigid to achieve everything within a period of time, you may still be setting yourself for failure. So I always recommend that you take your time, you think through it, and make sure you give yourself breathing space as you set your goals.
I think I like how calmly you've put this, you've put everything in place. And I also want to say, well done on going back to school while pregnant. Whatever happened to all the morning sickness, all the can't do it, and I mean that was really, you know,
I can tell you, I incorporated that. It was part of the goals I set for myself. I gave myself time. I did not put myself under pressure. It was a 4-year degree program. I never told myself, you must finish in 4 years. I was very cognizant of the fact that it's 4 years. It may take me longer. So I planned for those times. I planned for when I would give birth. I planned for when I would take some time off. I planned for when I would take a break mentally, because a doctorate is not, it's not easy. And when I embarked on that journey, there are moments when I would take a break. And when I came back, more energized, if I had to take 2 courses at a time when everybody was taking one, I will. But I was under no pressure to graduate in 4 years. I was under no pressure to compete with anyone. I just made it make sense for me and my journey. And that's how I was able to accomplish it.
thank you so much, Dr. Lizzie. I feel relieved, just listening to you say that, because sometimes I keep saying I have a program I call my Sunday grind, which I just give my random thoughts every Sunday, and sometimes I feel we rush. We rush because we always think that people are looking at us, people are watching us. But the truth is, if you're not doing something extremely good or something extremely bad, nobody's going to look at you. So in my head, since 2022, I have been like, okay, nobody's looking at me because I'm doing what I feel is right for me at this time. So if I get any compliment, I take it as a compliment, and never doing it because you want people to say you're doing that. And I found that since 2022, I'm very relaxed. I've accepted the fact that I can come on a webinar and I only have 5 people watching, and I'm happy. I only have 3 guests turn up. No, number 4 did not, and I'm happy. Because we have to appreciate those little things that add up. So that's a very good example I want to say. What about you, Brenda? Have you got any examples about where setting goals have made you to be, or have transformed the things that you want to do?
I actually have 2, I would say 2 very, not opposing, but very kind of extreme instances. One which I would call, it's linked to my profession, because it's pre-professional. That is my decision in the first place to become an architect. And then the second one is when I decided to have my private practice, because I was employed before that. So in the first, I would say, and that was probably the most transformative, where I would say the lesson I learned from it is mostly about how you go about making a decision. I was actually set out when I started as a student to study medicine, actually with a scholarship. I initially had wanted to do architecture when I was about 14 years old, and somehow on the way was, am I still on? Somehow I was discouraged from it, and then decided to do medicine. And just as I was about to start studies, I explored into medicine, did an internship, was reintroduced by friends into architecture, and I made a table of the things that I thought I should do in life, the things I wanted to do in life, the way I wanted to live. Basically, a whole set of, I guess you can call them somehow defining goals for life, or how I want to live. And I went through all of that, giving them values. Each point had different points. a number of points, and I was able to make a decision just suddenly to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to do architecture. And I'm grateful that I was able to have the opportunity to. And I have never regretted that. I mean, it feels like second skin. It's just a wonderful thing. Now, coming to the more recent transformative experience, after I started working, I figured, okay, I'm going to work for a number of years. And at some point, maybe in my 40s, I'm going to be on my own. But that time coming up, I was scared to death. It's like, okay, how do you get to be independent? You will not have a salary. How do you get people to know what you're doing? How are you going to set up by yourself? How do you take care of your family? But again, I had to come back to what is it that I want in life, right? Write those things down or think through them. And then, of course, I must say, because I believe in God, it's like I work also with circumstances and the inspiration I get. So I had to look at all these things and say, okay, at this point, I want to be able to impact others, my environment in this way. And setting all those things down, I realized this was the time for me to do it. Because if I continued as an employee, I was not going to be able to have the chance and the paths that I needed to be able to get to that. Oh, hello?
We can hear you. Your video just freezed on us, so I'm going to pop us all back. Yeah. Keep going.
All right, thank you. So fast forward from when I was about 18, I made the first decision. Now I'm about 40, I'm trying to remember, it was 42. I decide then to be able to be on my own. And so now I have my private practice. And well, guess what? I don't think I have reached my goal yet, but I did not set a time for that goal. Basically, it is, what I'm thinking is make sure that I'm still on that road, on that path, that I have not gotten off the path of my goal. So those are the two experiences. And the first one worked out superbly, and the second one is on its way.
Wow, thank you so much. I think you brought it from two different angles, and the beauty of it all is that one is showing us why it is important for us to set our goals. The other one is, even though, as Dr. Lizzie said, you don't have to be rigid. You must allow yourself some flexibility to navigate the different things that come to make things happen. And sometimes in life, you just want to do things and just let that take care of itself. Let me come to you, Yvette. I know you've already said something about how the lessons you've learned by not setting goals, how it impacted you. But what I want to ask you now is, how do you balance? I know you also said something about balancing up at the beginning of the conversation. How do you balance your short-term and long-term goals in the leadership role that you have?
To be honest, Aline, that's a tough question. That's a tough question because it's an ongoing job to be able to balance my what I go by is, like, at the beginning of the year, I will set up, let me say, long-term goals in terms of the key milestone that I want to achieve, let me say, from a professional perspective, from a personal perspective. And then I like to break them down, on like in tiny pieces. Like, I will have my yearly objective to say, okay, this year I want to be able to run a compliance agenda throughout the company. But now this is like my long-term goal, but how do I break it down in tiny pieces? That would be to say, okay, on a monthly basis, I need to have a conversation with key stakeholders around compliance. I like to bring those conversations on a weekly or on a monthly basis. And again, to go back to Lizzie say, I'm pretty flexible, and I've learned to give myself grace, not to be too harsh on myself. Okay, I say that I want to achieve this compliance agenda throughout the year, but then for some unforeseen circumstances, I cannot do that. But what can I do, instead of telling myself, oh gosh, this is too bad. I wanted to do this. I could not do that. What can I do to sort of, at the end of the day, be happy with myself still? So that's how I look at it, even from like the domestic perspective, the way I manage my household. I will have those big plans for the year. Like, okay, I say to myself, for example, this year I need to go back in shape. I need to take care of myself. But this is like my goal for the year. But now on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, I will say, okay, this week I will not eat any fried food. This is how I'm going to break it down. Next week, it will be on not putting sugar in my morning coffee. You see, so that's how I try to balance long-term and short-term goals. It's always, this big, huge plan, this 5 years plan that I have in my head, but I break it down in tiny pieces that I can chew, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Yeah.
Yvette, you've said something that has brought me to the fact that we might be speaking to some people who are still struggling between goals and objectives. You've talked about breaking it down into tiny pieces, and sometimes even I myself, sometimes I'm like, is this a goal or an objective? So maybe, Lizzie, would you want to give us a little bit, into goals? What are some of the goals that we can set for ourselves if we are starting in our career, or if we're looking at changing a career? What are some of the goals that we can set for ourselves?
So I will start by sharing a short story. One of my good friends turned mentor, who was an actuary, how to call them. If you know them, they're numbers oriented. These are the gurus in the math world, right? He told me, he said, when I make goals, when I plan for 5 years, it becomes very unrealistic. That's him. And I asked him, why is that? He said, 5 years is a long time. There's a lot that happens within 5 years. So I asked him, what do you do? He said, I do 2 years. And so through his guidance and counsel, I learned to not plan too far ahead, right? I have my goals. I have my overarching goals. Probably want to become a CEO of a big old company someday. But what are the actionable steps that I can take? There's an objective, but what are the actionable steps that I can take, which become my goals, right? So I break it down into 2 years, then 1 year. And within that year, you have to have smaller actionable steps per goal. And sometimes it may just be one item on your list. It may just be, you know what, I spent last year over socializing with Adeline. This year, I want to get to know Yvette better, because now I know Adeline enough. I'm giving a practical example. Now I know Adeline enough. Maybe I want to get to know Yvette better. Maybe I want to network more in the Guinness company. What am I supposed to do to achieve that goal? What are the actionable steps that I can take? And that's how I would plan for myself. The little things always have the biggest impact. So I always encourage people, while you may look at the big picture, always ask yourself, what are the small things that you can do to get there?
Thank you so much, Lizzie. I think what you've said has just confirmed what Brenda said a few minutes ago about balancing things up, knowing which one you want to put in your sweat and your blood, and the other one that you just want to let it take its course. So, Yvette, if you have to list maybe 5 goals that someone can set themselves, especially at work, what do you think people should look out for? Now you are in a leadership position, but before you got there, chances are high that you must have told yourself, between this time to this time, I want to have this. Between this time to this time, I want to be trained like that. So you sound like a very, articulate person who will put all those planning into perspective. So tell us, what are some of the things that you do, those little steps that you took at work to help you get to where you are today?
I'm not there yet, ladies. I'm still on my way to where I want to be. But I think one step that seems like a little step is actually put myself out there, is to make my plan known. Let me give you an example. I in like Lizzie said, I have this big picture, but in the next 2 years, I really want to be certified. So how do I go? I want to increase my visibility, from a profession, from the professional side. So how do I do that? I've decided, for example, to go back to school and to get a certification. But now, what does it take for me to get that certification? It takes for me to attend some webinar, to attend some classes, and make myself more visible, more attractive in the marketplace, in my own company. It's always a good thing to have somebody who is certified in his own field. So this is something, for example, that I've been looking at. And like I said, I need to make my plan known. I need people that can take me there, to know that I need them to take me there. Because one thing that I've realized in the workplace, or when you're in a leadership position, is just as though, since you are a leader, since you are a manager, you know it all. You have made it, you have this big position, you are this, you're that. By the end of the day, it gets lonely up there. When you get, let me say, up there, let me put it in bracket, because for me, sky is the limit. But when you get to a certain level, it quickly gets lonely if you want to be lonely. I would say carry your village with you, those people that can encourage you, that people that can be your sounding board, those people that can also give you a reality check from time to time to say, okay, this goal that you are setting for yourself, it's not realistic. If you are taking this side, you are setting yourself up for failure. This is what I can say when it comes to those things, those steps that I take. Another step that I used to take is, before actually setting up my goal, I take information. I like to make an informed decision. That is to say, like Lizzie said, you gather all the information that you need to be able to attain a specific step. I'm really big on research, asking questions, inquiring. I'm also slow on making decision. I will make that decision, but before I make it, I will actually give myself all the chances. I will think of all the different scenarios, plan A, plan B, plan C. What if this doesn't work? This is what I can do. If this doesn't work, this is what I can do. So this is how I kind of manage, to be able to set my goals. I hope that I've answered your question.
You have, absolutely. You've answered the question, and the more you're talking, the more I'm asking myself, wow, do I follow any of these processes? So I just go. I think you've really made me to. I mean, you've educated me. You've inspired me, because sometimes I just put it all out there. Most of the time, not sometimes. I just put it all out there, and now I'm going to start looking at this differently. I don't know who else will look at it differently, but I love how you have. I think we have a few people online. I just want to thank them. We want to say thank you to Prince. I am Mel, Top Notch Ladies. I am Opportune. That's from Tabe Pamela, Mr. Fombo, and we have Ramses Watso, Rashida, and then people are just commenting and joining. Please do share so that other people who are not on this call can be blessed to listen in real time. If you have any questions, do ask. Before the end, we're going to be taking questions. So that's set. Let me go to our next question. Our next question is about, mentorship. I know that it is hard to mentor people, especially because when I have a vision and my vision is not clear, it is so hard for me to tell you that this is my vision. But you have to be someone who is not just opportune, who is not blessed, who is not patient, but you need to be in the right place at the right time. That's why I'm talking about opportunity, because mentorship does not just come like that. You need to either be the right place, the right time, You need to be extremely inspiring for people to come up to you. You need to sign up on mentorship program, or you need to offer your services to everybody who wants to. So let's talk about mentorship. When we say mentoring someone, we mean helping this person to plan, to plan where they want to be, helping them to achieve a certain level of mastering of whatever they've come to you for. So if we are talking to you today, Dr. Lizzie, let's talk to you about mentorship and how you have been able to effectively help someone else to set their goal or their SMART objectives. I'll start with me. Just by listening to you, you have mentored me in a way, but have you been in any formal or structured mentorship program where you've been able to help someone, and what are some of the effective ways you can tell us about today?
Yes, I have. But if before I answer that question, if you allow me, I wanted to comment on
No, absolutely.
Yvette. I wanted to comment on something Yvette said, because Yvette is my former self. It sounds like she's an overthinker, right? It's the research is very good. It's very necessary, right? The you take your time to make decisions, but you don't take too much time to make decisions. I have a mantra, and I got this from my company. I learned to fail fast, because when you fail, you actually learn to succeed faster. So rather than taking so much time to make a decision, just tell yourself, you know what, I have done my part, I have done my research, this is what makes sense to me, and then make a decision. If it doesn't work out, guess what? Now you've learned something. You have an opportunity to go back and do something different and be more successful. So write it down, learn to fail fast. Okay. Now I'm going to answer your question, Adeline. So in my company, I was chairing my women in IT committee, right? So of course I'm a woman in IT, and we decided to create something that had to do with community involvement. So what we did during my time was go out to underserved areas in my city to introduce technology to young girls and boys, but young girls especially, who probably would never know about technology if we did not go to them. And also we decided to create a mentoring program, just so we could provide that foundation, that nurturing environment where young girls in high school, girls in universities could have opportunities to be mentored. But here's what I learned before I give you the different steps. Here's what I learned through the process as a person. If mentorship doesn't come to you, you can go to it. And that is how I found the best mentors that I have today. And that is how my mentors became my sponsors. That's going to be a conversation for another time. I learned to approach people. I learned to put myself out there, because not everybody is going to come to you like we did with our Women in IT program, right? But sometimes you can just sit and watch and observe. It starts with your ambitions for yourself. What do you want to become? What does it look like in another person? And you will begin to see that in people. And once you start seeing that in people, you start having, you start developing admiration for them. It is okay to approach them. I approached most of my mentors at the right time in the right place. Some people have said no to me. It did not kill me. And they were just polite to say, you know what, I'm mentoring a lot of people right now. I cannot mentor you. Like, fine, thank you. If you feel like you have enough room, reach out to me. And others have been very graceful. Oh my God. Wow. You think I am this? Okay, let's talk. Where do you want to be? So for mentoring to be effective, which is, I'm sure I'm answering your question right now, Adeline, you can actually make it formal, right? Make it structured, make it formal, where you have a cadence, where you meet, where you talk with your mentees. Give them that impression that you're taking them seriously. because they come to you for assistance, they come to you for help. So you want to show them that, you know what, it takes courage to ask. And because you mustered this courage, I'm here to help you. So you create that environment, you create that cadence. You let the mentees determine for themselves what it is that they want to learn. And your role is to provide the resources for them. So if I came to you and I said, hey, Adeline, I'd like to come to England. I want to be able to do A, B, or C. You are my mentor. You know exactly what I want to do, right? I'm very specific. I want to come to England. Your role, because you probably have more experience, more expertise, more exposure, is to give me the tools. You don't have to hold my hand to take me to the place. You can send me a link to say, hey, Lizzie, based on our conversation, here are some resources that will help you. Make it more structured. Monthly meetings. Okay, what do you want us to talk next month? Write it down. A few days before, your mentee should be able to reach out and tell you, hey, this is what I would like for us to talk when we meet. Because they've had time to do their own homework. They've had time to introspect and retrospect to know exactly what the next step should be for them. And you will have the time to gather the resource for them. So when you meet, you're either sharing your experiences, you're sharing other people's experiences, or you're giving them the tools that they need to proceed. Something else that I also like to encourage is peer mentoring circles, where it is people from all walks of life. When you move away from the structured one, you know how you say, my girlfriend groups. That is an informal peer mentoring circle. Because within that group, there are people who are older than you. There are people who've had different experiences in life. There are people who've overcome certain challenges that you are yet to overcome or encounter. And when you have that peer mentoring circles where you just have conversations, you empower each other, you encourage each other, you will find that you grow without even realizing that. That is where you're extracting your germs for growth from. Something else that I always encourage is reverse mentoring. Let me explain reverse mentoring. With reverse mentoring, you take younger people who do not have much experience, much expertise, and pair them with older people or people who have more experiences, more expertise, but also have a gap. A typical example is we're now in the digital stage. You have to be able to use Teams, Google Meet. We're here using, on Facebook Live. There are many people who are excellent at their jobs, but they're not techie. They will tell you, Master, how's that doing a team save? What's that mind the mute? Where do we do this? There's some people who can speak for the world, but they cannot manage a Word document because they're just not techie. So when you pair somebody like that with a Gen Z or a younger generation that is all technology, right? They come with a level of expertise. It becomes a win-win situation for both. Because in that conversation, while the younger person is teaching the older person some of the things that they don't know, through conversations, the older person is sharing their experiences, their expertise. So everybody leaves winning. Everybody leaves learning something. I just wanted to make sure I shared that particular experience because it works and it works magic. And then there are also sponsorship programs. Remember, I talked about the difference between being a mentor and a sponsor. A mentor may find a time to guide you because you're seeking a mentor in a space that they have experience in. So they can guide you. But your sponsor is going to vouch for you. Your sponsor is going to create an opportunity for you to see other opportunities. Mentors do not necessarily go to that extent. They don't have to. But your sponsor is that person who would say, hey, you know what? I know Yvette. I can vouch that she can get this job done. I'm going to put my reputation on the line. Hire her, please, because she's going to make you proud. She's going to deliver. And your sponsor does that. Why? Because through that mentorship relationship, they became a sponsor because they saw in you the efficiency, the effectiveness, the willingness to grow, and everything that you bring. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because when you are a mentee, realize you have a lot to do. You do not just rely on your mentor. You do your homework because it's your dream, it's your goal that you want to achieve. That person is helping you. Yes, they are winning, they are learning, but you will come out the biggest winner if you do the things right. So when your mentee, when your mentor turns your sponsor, it is actually better for you because they have enough information to network for you, to find opportunities for you. They will put you in spaces where you will be most successful because they know you, they know what you bring to the table. I hope I covered all the areas there.
Wow. I feel like I've just been to school, I've just been to university, and I love that. I love the fact that you stated a different form of mentorship because most often we're only looking at, the mentor mentee kind of mentorship. We're not looking at the reverse mentorship, mentorship program. We're not looking at the peers. To be honest, up to today I've never considered I've never considered the relationship I share with my girlfriends or my sister friends. I've not considered that a mentorship program. But when you were speaking and I was reflecting on, some of them. For example, I have a friend, Belinda. I keep saying if I'm faced with a very, very difficult situation, a tight situation, I'll ask myself, what will Belinda do? And I will behave exactly how I would think that she will behave. And that is a way of mentorship which I didn't think about it like that. But now that you've said it, I think I need to deep dive into a bit more of the different mentorship program, and see how I can apply some of that, not just for myself but on the mentor mentee program that both Yvette and Brenda are mentors on that program. I would like to kind of introduce that as well, so that we're covering a bit more than what we're covering at the moment. So thank you so much, Lizzie. Brenda, I know Lizzie has hammered us on the mentorship program, but what strategy do you think, or what are some of the effective ways you have used in mentoring or mentoring others to set goals that you want to share with us today?
Okay, so I've actually never done any formal mentoring in the sense of a formal mentoring program, apart from the speed mentorship we did recently um, in the corporate women in leadership program. But I would talk about just in my professional life, the situations I've had of people I've looked up to, as well as people who've looked up to me. And I would say, to me, the most effective, uh, should I call it a tool or a strategy, is allowing the other person, the person you're exchanging with, to feel comfortable talking with you. That is, without necessarily getting into their personal life. Simple things as in, when you're talking with the person, find out, have they had lunch? Are they feeling okay? Allowing them to see that you also sometimes need help, or you feel a little weak in something. Allows them to see that you're human, so that they open up more easily, are able to show where they really have a problem. And with that, you're able to touch that problem better if you have the capacity to, or at least if you know where to lead them to. Same as for you, who's looking at someone who's mentoring you. When they make you feel comfortable, you trust what they're going to tell you more. So I would say that is a small factor. I don't know if in the formal mentorship it works as much, but just within the professional experience I've had, I realize that makes for a big difference. Of course, with nuances, but yeah, about how you get how comfortable you can allow each other to feel in each other's presence.
Thank you so much, Brenda. What about you, Yvette? Have you got you know, any effective steps you might want to share with our listeners today?
No, actually, I not per se, but I just wanted to thank Lizzie because she has brought, I mean, what she said was actually an eye opener, in terms of the responsibility that you carry when you mentor someone. Actually, it's not something to be taken lightly, because what you do can actually impact someone's life, and there's a certain level of accountability that comes with being a mentor. And thank you, Lizzie, for bringing it here, because it gives me another perspective really on what it means, and also the part where you can actually get someone from the younger people actually can actually pour into you as well. Even if you are the one to mentor them, they can pour to you. And it is something that I think is, for me, it's really like a game changer, in the way I'm going to be managing my professional and even personal relationship way forward. So I just wanted to put that out there, that Lizzie, she made my day.
So sometimes I tell guests, and I also tell participants on speakers on the program, that we all learn. We all come here to speak, and we learn. And the quality of guests that I receive on this show, I love them, because we're not afraid to say, I'm learning from you. And this is what we call growth as well. It is, for me, it's the height of growth, knowing that you're learning from your peer, something that, because to be honest, Lizzie, I have never taken time to go deep into all the way you structured it. I think, Nelly, what you're going to do after this is you're just going to capture that particular section, so that we can use it as a teaser on some of our next, our next webinar, so that people can see, and learn. We want to push that and drive that as much as possible. And I'm sure Nelly is going to be hammering on you, asking you to write it down for her, so that she's going to use it as some of her resources.
Not a
So
problem.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now let's go to our next question.
I'd like to
Now,
add something,
okay, that's fine.
if you don't
Please
mind.
go
If you don't
ahead.
mind.
No, I don't mind at all.
Just to compound everything that we've summed up on mentorship. I take it very seriously, because I am where I am, and I know I will get to where I want to get through my mentors and my sponsors, right? You think about this little girl from Norway who comes to the US, it takes you so long to achieve or to get anywhere. And it takes you so much courage to put yourself out there. Then you realize there's a way this game is played. So when you learn how to play the game and you understand it, I think the right thing to do is to share that with others. So I take mentoring very seriously. To me, it's essential, it's critical for professional and personal growth, right? But one of the things when Brenda was talking about just showing that side of you that is vulnerable, also trying to make sure that people get comfortable sharing and also learning from you, because above all, we are humans. Blood flows through our veins. So you cannot pose to be a superpower and expect the other person to act to feel as if you're human. But something that I find to be very critical that helps me in my journey is that moment for feedback and continuous support. Because if you don't allow feedback, if you don't allow room for someone to confidently share what they think about the process, then you're in another sense preventing that person from just being or going through the process of mentorship. I've had situations when we did our mentoring program where people said, when we did our surveys and gathered feedback, some people said it was not a good fit. And they explained why. And some of the reasons were, well, they just never cared. They never asked me for feedback. They never requested my input on anything. So I highly encourage that in all the steps and all the strategies that we may engage in for mentorship or sponsorship, there's that moment that we must provide for feedback, continuous feedback and support. I just wanted to say that.
Thanks once again, Lizzie. I think Now we have a doctor in the house. Thank you so much. Nelly, hope you're taking notes. I want to thank those who are still with us now. I can see a lot of thoughts. Nelly has been sharing comments that we're having in the comment sections, and I feel everybody feel very inspired and very motivated by what you ladies are saying. But right now, I know we've got about 20 more minutes. I know we've got about 20 more minutes to go, or maybe less. But what I want to ask us to take our turn to do, I'll start with you, Brenda, is to, now that we've come to the end of our webinar, this is the part where we make our PowerPoints. PowerPoints simply because we want to tell those listening to us what they need to do in order to set a smart goals or their smart goals. So what are some of the steps that they can take? It is a new year, it is the beginning of the year, and yeah, so just tell us what you think we or the listeners need to do in order to set smart goals. How should they address or move on to the new year with specifics in mind? I think Brenda is freezing, so we're gonna just move on to. Okay, she's back.
Can you please ask the question again? I didn't hear any of it.
Okay, as we step into the new year, right? What advice do you have for women in leadership or anybody in leadership as they set their goals for the upcoming months? What advice would you have for them?
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that question. The very first thing I would say is just feel free with yourself. Feel confident with yourself, with who you are, and with what you can do. First thing. The second thing I would say is, as you set your goals, look around you and see what you think, how you think you can walk that path within the year. It's basically look and see, okay, if you're trying to say you're walking from point A to point B, is the path during the year possible to be done? And take into consideration everything else happening during the year, such that you will walk it comfortably. So as you make the effort, you will not feel crushed because, I don't know, there's a public holiday here, someone fell sick there, or you yourself fell sick. There's something I wanted to bring up, if I may, Adeline, because we didn't talk about it. And it's something that I even struggle with still, is that when you set these goals, you work so hard towards them that you forget that the goals you have to set for your own self, that is for your own good well-being. And if you're not well, you're not going to reach your goals, So I would say the advice I would say is also think about setting some goals as to how you take care of your health, your mental health, your physical health, your social health. Those are the things that will keep you balanced, such that you can reach now the goals that you're trying to reach professionally. And as you reach those goals, you're not doing them alone, right? You're working with the team. I mean, because we're talking about women in leadership. So you try to make sure, without necessarily having to get into the lives of the individuals in your teams, to make sure that they are in one way or another pretty balanced, as well as caring for those with whom you're working. So I would say the advice would be, remember that within your goals, you have a goal to make sure that you are whole. You are still whole. You're whole now, and you're going to continue being whole through your path, through that journey to get to your goal by the end of the year. And make sure that those you're with are whole. Check on them every once in a while to see if they are still okay, not just in what they're doing, but in their own health. I think I could sum it up to that.
Thank you so much. Thanks very much. Dr. Lizzie, let's hear from you. If there is something or advice that you would like to have women to take moving forward into the new year, what would you advise them?
I will advise every woman what I would advise myself. To start with, if we want to dive into the women in leadership field or role, it's tough. It can be challenging. As women, we take on so much, right? If you're a mother, a wife, that's another job for you. So I am going to totally echo Brenda's point of, as you dig into the new year, think about yourself first. Think about a healthy you. Think about a stable and excuse me, and happy you. Now, with that said, when you incorporate those and you take them into the professional setting, I'll also encourage that. Start with breaking your goals, because you have goals, right? You want to grow professionally, you also want to grow personally. You probably have your own mentors and sponsors. Break your own goals, or it's your work goals or whatever goals you want to break, into very actionable steps. I have my vision board. I don't know if you heard about Empower Her. My good friend Clara Ngando, she taught the young girls about the vision board, and we all give ourselves an assignment to get it done by the end of the month, which we did. My vision board sits right in front of me, so when I'm in my office, I see it. It incorporates, and I'm going to have to look at it, my personal ambitions for the year: health, family, financial, career. I actually added humanitarian. And in all of those, I identified one or two key things that I would like to do better this year, whether it's saving more money, whether it's bonding more with family members, whether it's spending more time with my kids. And I detailed what I needed to do to achieve those goals. I'm not under any pressure. I actually have a goal to read for 30 minutes every day. Some days I don't, because I get too tired, I get overwhelmed. And I tell myself, hey, it's just one day. The next day I'll catch up, right? Because I know I have to read, so I don't have to kill myself. So break your goals down into actionable steps. Something else that I would really advise is regularly visit your goals, revise, and adjust. Just adjust them to what works for you with no pressure. Okay, maybe I said I'll be done with something by March, and this is month 2. The way I see things going, I will not be able to accomplish that goal. Okay, I'm going to revise it. I'm going to move it from March to June. It's okay. The good thing is that it's a goal that you set for yourself. You're paying attention to it. You're taking the necessary strides to accomplish them, and you will in due time. Something else that I would like to recommend is, do not let unnecessary distractions interfere with your goals. I see it a lot of times. Sometimes I get really tempted to stay on social media and just scroll hours and hours, right? It's a lot that happens out there. It's a lot that goes on. You want to see all the fashion stuff. It is not very good for you. So if you want to accomplish your goals, you have to create that balance between when you have to do the things you have to do and when you have to take the time off for yourself. And I would wrap up by saying life happens. Sometimes you set the goals, sometimes you break them into actionable steps, but sometimes you do not get the opportunity to accomplish all of them. It's okay. Life happens. Just remind yourself that if I did not do it right this time, if I could not get to it now, just put it back as another goal for the next time and make sure you walk towards it. The essence is to stay on course. The essence is to write it down, plan for it, and do your part, and let nature take care of itself. That's it.
Okay, write it down. Make sure it is something that you really, really want. Make sure you understand why you want it. You do not have to achieve all of it at that time. If you cannot achieve it now, there's always another time. Just make sure you plan. Thank you so much, Dr. Lizzie. I feel educated again, and I think that we have come to a point where, as I earlier said, we are not in any rush. We have to know that we're doing something that we want to do purely because we want to do. We are the architect or the maker of whatever we want to behave. We need to be disciplined, most especially. We need to create time for everything. If we say 1 hour for social media, let it be 1 hour. Don't get tempted, don't get distracted. Ensure that whatever you're doing, you know when to stop. Do not get addicted, because at the end of the day, there's always something else that you need to do. Now, Yvette, please tell us, moving forward, you're speaking to this young woman in the corporate field. She's right here on the ladder looking to go ahead. How would you advise her to plan for the year in order as she sets her objectives and her goals?
I think for me, it might sound obvious, but what I want to say is that your goals are personal. Why I'm saying that your goals are personal? Because sometimes, especially in when you work in companies, and we are these young women, we belong to this group, my girlfriends do that. Your goals are your own. It means that by setting up your goals, you need to be true to yourself. You have your best friend, she has decided that she's going to have a side hustle. And you decide that, okay, this is something that's good to have. Okay, let me also try to have a good hustle. But ask yourself, is it something that really works for me? Is it something that will really bring me happiness? Is it something that I really want to do? Or am I kind of mirroring other people's goals to make them my own? So I would say your goals are really personal, they are your own goal. And I will also say that one thing that have helped me, this from the personal side, is to have what I will call an accountability partner, someone who sometimes will check on me and to say, oh, remember you say that this year you want to get in you want to get in shape. Have you gone to the gym this week? Not necessarily judging me, but really like asking those questions when maybe I get too comfortable not meeting my goals. At some point, I'm like, okay, let me give myself grace. And then after giving myself grace, I am like, actually, I'm not rushing. It's okay not to rush, but at a certain point of time, you need to have a certain level of accountability. These are your own goals that you decide to set for yourself. How do you make yourself accountable for those goals? What are the means that you take? What is that extra mile that you are putting it to get where you want to get? For me, that will be the key things that I can give. And I will also take on few of the things that Lizzie said, and to make them my own as well, as part of my own goal setting for the year. But for me, it will really be accountability and really being intentional about my goals, because these are my goals, that I want to achieve. And every time that I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling lazy, I don't want to do this, I need to ask myself that question: am I really being intentional? Why did I decide to do it in the beginning, in the first place? So that would be for me. That would be it for me, Adeline, really.
Now, accountability partner, I love that accountability partner. I love that you mentioned accountability partner, and I love that we're talking about mentorship, we're talking about setting goals. And it is true that once you set a goal, and you're the only one who is in charge of that goal, sometimes you can easily give up on it, isn't it? You have to be extremely disciplined in order for you to stay and follow everything the way you want to do it. I mean, I've hardly seen people who do that, but I know a few people who are very good at making sure they are so organized. And but as everybody as we've all established, this is not a forceful thing that we have to stick to, but it's just something that helps us to make us feel less guilty and make us achieve more. So we have talked about mentorship, mentoring other people to set their objectives. We've talked about setting smart goals. We've talked about challenges that we've had setting these goals. We've talked about points in our career where not setting these goals have actually played on our disadvantage, and how we've been able to maybe overcome that. So I feel that we've covered the majority of the thing that we want to talk about. And one thing that I really liked on in our conversation is the fact that amongst us we've been able to establish step by step Number one, write it down. Number one, know what you want to achieve and when you want to achieve. Number two, write it down. Once you write it down, number three, put in the various steps that you must cover. Which one comes before which and when does it come? And if it doesn't happen, how do you adjust to change? How do you adjust to that? We've all agreed that by adjusting we mean being flexible. We don't have to hold on to it and like, oh no, I'm not gonna let you go because I had said I was gonna do that. So and I also love the fact that we had a bit more than we actually bargained for. Thank you, Lizzie. We had a bit more today than we bargained for, which I thought was was really a jackpot. And Brenda, I love how you've brought on the table your architectural hats. You've put in all these things and you've made us to understand that you don't have to set just one. It shouldn't be just like this is it. You can have this, you can set this, but then you have the other one that you want to do. It might not be a top priority, but you're going to be doing your baby step in order to to achieve what you want to achieve. And Yvette, you've also told us about how the biggest lesson you learned, or one of the lessons that you learned, was the fact that you didn't plan. And of course, Lizzie said it is okay to fail, but the most important thing is how quick do you get up and how flat do you lie. So you don't have to stay there. Sometimes it is good to fail, but the thing you have to understand is to get up fast and keep going. Don't just stay there and say, oh, I'm falling, someone please. So we've got 4 minutes to go. With the 4 minutes, I just want us to, in 1 minute each, just tell our closing remark and whatever advice you want to give out there. Please, this is your time, just so that we know that we have wrap up smoothly. So I'll start with you, Yvette. One strong final words you want to give our audience?
What I would say, it's what Lizzie brought to me. It's something to say, don't be afraid to fail. Actually, that for me is the key takeaway. Failure is part of the process. From failure comes growth, so the fact that you fail does not mean that you are finished. It's just like you stumble back, but then you need to get yourself together and keep going. So for me, that would be it, to say failure is not the end.
Thank you, Brenda. I'm going to pop you on. So let's hear your keywords.
So I'd like to tell everyone out there, life in itself is a goal, right? You start somewhere and you're going to end somewhere. So knowing that, you take all the goals that you set for yourself in the same way. It's just walking a path. So you're only setting different milestones within that life. So you set that one milestone, just look towards it. And sometimes the road is straight, sometimes the road has curves and doesn't go so straight, but you will get there. So all you have to do is keep your focus on that goal and make sure you're on the path towards it, whether it's straight or whether it's curvy.
Thank you very much, Brenda. And now over to you, Dr. Lizzie. Take home message.
I'd like to sum up what these two brilliant ladies just said. And I must say, Adeline, thank you for bringing me on. I learned a lot from Brenda and Yvette, and I'd like to meet with them in the future, right? Not on the podium. I'd like to say, as you plan your goals, as you set things up for yourself, as you think about your ambitions, realize that flexibility and adaptability are key to staying on track and achieving long-term goals. When you're flexible, you will realize that things will change. When you're adaptable, you realize that whatever comes your way, you can wing it. And with those two things in mind, being flexible and adaptable, you will be able to achieve every goal that you set for yourself. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. I don't even know how to say these thanks, because when we relaunched this platform, and I asked my team to go out and get me people who can talk about setting goals, because we thought it's the beginning of the year and what kind of conversation do we want to hold. So goal setting is what we start, and I want to ask you, lady, just show of hand, if you're happy to come back on subsequent topics, because we'll be having one every month. Sometime, I think in March, we want to have a bit more because it's a women's month. So we want to make sure we have a bit more. So just show of hand, we would like to come back, subsequently in the other, the other topics that we'll be sharing. Just show of hands. Thank you. Okay, so we have 3 yeses. 3 yeses. But before I go, I want to share what Ngu Anu Alice says. I am a strategic management lecturer. Wow. And I can say these brilliant minds are just pouring out such deep knowledge and in such real way. This is what we need in the classroom as well. Wow, Alice, thank you so much. We need this in the classroom, to be honest, because this is real life, this is real life examples, real life experiences that we are putting out there. And I'm so grateful you were able to join us today. And I want to thank everybody who have stayed on. I know it's the middle of the day and people are busy. Maybe it's rush hours where other people are. And I can see Miss Odi, one of our, Miss Odi Fonderson, one of our mentors. She's also joined, and she picked on the flexibility and adaptability, Lizzie. So I want to thank her for joining. I want to thank Clara, who also joined earlier. Alice, thank you. Nelly, thank you, and the team at Faberfree for putting this together. This is the start. We know that the attendance for today might not reflect right now, but I'll bet you girls to come back in the few days time. You will see just how many people have come to watch and listen what we've just said today. It is the first episode of the year, and I'm happy you've all put your hands up to come back on our platform. And as Lizzie said, it's not only going to be online platform. We have a lot of offline platforms that we've put across the year. We're going to share our calendar with you, and if you feel that there is any that you want to be a part of, please do let us know, and we're going to make arrangements so that you can join us and celebrate. So thank you so much, lady, and you have a beautiful evening. We're going to meet back, and Nelly says we should meet back end so that we can have our debrief. So thank you again, and I'll see you in the studio.
Thank you. Thank you, Adeline.
Bye.
Thank you, Adeline.
Thank you. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of this webinar, and as usual, it has been very insightful, and as usual, we've just hit top of the hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes, which is what we actually wanted to achieve. I want to thank you all for staying. I want to thank you for sharing. I want to thank you for the comments. I hope I'm going to be seeing you again next month, same time. But if you're not registered to receive our notifications, please do send us our email, and we're going to send us an email, and we're going to add you on our platform. So as I grace off this show for today, I'm going to leave you with one thought. What are the goals you've set yourself this year? Why did you set yourself those goals? What are the steps you've put in place to help you achieve these goals? If you do need help, please, you can contact us, and we're going to put you in touch with one of our speakers who can mentor you, advise you, and help you take you to that level that you want to go. It's been Corporate Women in Leadership. Follow all our pages on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and why not TikTok? So I'm going to end the stream. Bye now.